Hi, I'm Sherri.
I'm Lana.
And this is Real Estate Tips with SNL. What are we here to talk about today, Lana?
So you and I have been brainstorming about this topic for a while, and I think it's really, really important because this is about open houses.
Yep.
And I think it's a great topic to talk with buyers and sellers.
And sellers, yeah.
Because we often say, how do you prep for an open house? But that's not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about on both sides, pros and cons, and then give some ideas for both sides to be excited about this. Because I know you and I do a lot of open houses. You do because of your new construction. There's always something to show.
Every weekend.
Right, every weekend. And for me, I'm not the new construction, but I'm noticing these open houses have been so productive, allowing the people to come in, but getting to know the buyer so that now I have more information to bring to my seller so I can talk about what the buyer's so enthusiastic about and whatnot. It's not like just people are coming through and they're not talking to you. You know, you can get more information. And I think that it's a different outlook now because there is time now that people can come in for a private showing with their agent, but it gives them an opportunity to come in to talk to me as the listing agent and get some more info.
Right.
So I thought we'd just kind of go back and forth and give people some ideas to think about. So
let's just start with, what is an open house?
Right.
Really basic is an opportunity for people to come without an appointment.
Right.
To view a property. This is open to the public.
Anybody
can come.
It can be a pre-approved or not pre-approved. Someone just starting out to think what's on the market.
Yeah. It can be the nosy neighbor. We know that there are the nosy neighbors, but I wouldn't shun that because, a neighbor is kind of excited about, potentially getting someone they know, and somebody new in the neighborhood.
Right.
So sometimes those neighbors are putting in their best foot forward to sell the house that you have.
And they generally do.
Yeah.
Because they want their friends and family to move in next to them.
Absolutely.
So I think that is so beneficial to sellers to understand that, I don't know about you, but I get pushback from sometimes the sellers saying, nope, I do not want just anybody coming through the house.
Yeah.
But I also think that the energy level, when you put a new listing on and then you're offering the open house, this is the excitement that people want to come see it. It's not necessarily an open house for 30 days in that it's been sitting there. That's the same energy. However, I still see the benefit.
Right.
But I think that for sellers to understand, these people's lives are super busy, right?
Right.
And weekends are not always the best time for an open house because there's kid activities. Everybody has their weekend free to go do some stuff because people are working, right? So sometimes I think these we call commuter open houses can be really beneficial. Usually end at the end of the day. So like a 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it runs for an hour and a half. Sometimes those are busier than the weekends.
Absolutely. It's interesting too, because I feel like when I first got into real estate, open houses were only on Sundays.
Correct.
That was it. The only day. Then we started bringing in Saturdays. Then we started doing it on a Wednesday or a Tuesday night, the commuter or, what do we say, the twilight open house or whatever it is. And, now there can be an open house any day of the week. I don't think it makes sense to do an open house at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. No. But, you're trying to accommodate a schedule that probably speaks to the majority, but maybe not everyone. Now, I have had sellers say to me the same thing, listen, I'm very private, or maybe I have a lot of expensive equipment in my home that I'm not able to, protect.
Yeah.
And I don't want a public open house. And, the reality is that if you and I are doing an open house, we may not have a set of eyes on every person throughout the entire time that they're visiting the property. So, one of the cautions I would say for a seller who does agree to have an open house is to, put away valuables, remove them from the house, and just be extra cautious. I know we've shared the fact that the warning of theft at an open house comes out a lot, but I've never experienced that.
No,
and I think the reality is that most people are on their best behavior. even when you were coming in with a little kid, you're trying to say, all right, don't be running around. This is somebody else's home.
Right.
You do show respect
Right.
to the property.
Yeah, I think people are excited to come see the house. I've never had, and thank goodness I haven't, and any issue with theft or whatnot. But I do have those conversations with the seller and to make them feel comfortable. But again, even if there's a private showing, put away your stuff.
Right. Right. Exactly.
It's the same.
Yep.
So some of the things I know, I talk to a lot of first home buyers. And I know they're a little nervous about going to open houses. So I can't be at every single open house, but I like to be there with them. I like to walk through the property, and it kind of gives us a chance to start the process, but also it might be an open house during our viewing for the day, so we can pop in. What I tell them is when they go to an open house, don't be afraid to go check out something. But when you sign in, sign your name, and then give my name, my contact information.
Right.
But let's talk about why. And the reason why I tell my buyers to put my name and stuff is because normally this listing agent will contact me throughout the day or later on to talk about if there's a deadline for offers, give more information, ask if my client had any feedback or stuff. So they have a tendency to reach back out to me where I might still be busy doing appointments throughout the day. They're going to give me more insight.
Right.
Because that information is there. So you don't have to memorize your, real estate person's license, phone number or email. But if you have a card or you have something on your phone, use that information because it's very helpful.
Right.
And it's not about not giving your information. It's going to be much more advantageous.
Right. I feel, and right, clearly.
Yes.
I no offense, but some people have some really bad handwriting, and I'm not good at deciphering some of these letters. But when they do, if they put down, it's funny how many people don't know their agent's last name.
Right.
I work with Susie, but, and who does Susie work for? Because if you can't remember her last name, who does she work for? Oh, I don't know. ABC Realty. And so I think that what we need to do is make sure that, we're giving our clients, maybe we give them a stack of business cards or simply, just one that they're, take a picture of it.
That's what I mean.
And, have it on your
phone.
Just have it so you're able to write that down. Open house etiquette. We've talked about this before, but I think maybe getting a little more personal about that. When you are going into somebody else's home, especially one that's occupied, they are expecting, as a buyer, the seller's expecting that you're probably going to look in their closet, you might be, you might even open the refrigerator. I've seen that happen, although not usually at an open house, but I suppose it could because the appliance might be something that's staying with the house, those sort of things. What's not okay and should never happen is to open up somebody's dresser drawer or, a piece of furniture, going into their personal property.
Right.
What about using the bathroom during an open house?
I mean, I know there's emergencies. Sometimes people bring their kids, right? I get that.
Yeah.
But it's not a place for that.
Right.
Obviously, if there's some kind of emergency, I understand. But don't go in there thinking that, oh, this is a pit stop for the family this afternoon. Let's go in this open house. It's not proper.
Right. Well, right. I mean, don't come in just specifically to use that. And I have had people say, pull me aside, whisper to me, is it okay?
Yeah.
I am really, and I would think that if you, it's probably embarrassing to ask the question, maybe you might want to go ahead and lock the door, but I think as a general rule, try to avoid it.
Another thing is shoes on, shoes off, booties and all that. You're coming into someone's house. Have some respect. The agent that is conducting the open house will give you those instructions.
Right.
So if your shoes are on, still take the time to wipe your feet. I mean, think about it. And don't be walking all over things that, creeping up on their furniture and all that stuff. It's not, we're there. Think about it if it was at your home. But those kind of things. And the other thing is thinking about doing like this mini inspection thing. If the attic is available, which oftentimes I understand, pull down, they take a look, they can look. but we're not going up there investigating, going into the vents and doing this detailed opening up everything that, a home inspector would do.
Right.
We're not there for that.
Well, plus, sometimes when you pull down that attic, there could be some debris that falls down. So somebody who just spent the entire weekend getting ready for their open house and cleaning and all that now has all this dust and dirt on their floor because you opened up their attic at an open house. Just not the place to do it. Pre-inspections, I think that's an important thing. I know when we had Mark on here, we were talking about that. Not every home inspector offers it, but some, especially during the height of a crazy seller's market, might be offering that. I don't believe that an open house is the place to do it, but I think even if you choose to do one at a private showing, I think that you're still in somebody else's house,
right?
That you need to make sure that you are having your agent, just as a courtesy, run it by the listing agent so the seller can be aware, hey, listen, while these people are doing this showing,
right,
they're going to look a little bit deeper, not a full-fledged home inspection, but they might be up in the attic and looking at some things that perhaps would not be viewed otherwise.
Yeah. Some other things that I was thinking of for sellers, if there are things in the house or places you don't want people or, to go, but to open up, put notes on there. Please don't unlock this door. Please just look through the window here.
Yeah.
Please don't go through. I mean, the seller's responsible for that as well, because if there's things that don't close very good or, there's enough to show them, sellers, don't be afraid to put little notes out. I mean,
I've seen people do that for like a cat. I have my cats in this area. Please don't open this door. Yeah. I've locked up my child in a timeout. Okay, maybe not.
No, I don't think they do that. No, we're not doing the babysitting for an hour and a half. Okay?
No, we're not babysitting.
But here's another thing. Buyers, home inspections are a great place to not just go in and out. Take the time, go in, ask some questions, because the agent that is there is going to be able to, now you have a person to say, I need this answered. If we don't know the age of the roof, the windows, or something, or the boundary lines or something.
Right.
Don't be intimidated not to ask a question, because there's no dumb question.
Right.
You're at an open house, and if they don't know the answer, they're going to get that answer for you. And then you're going to simply say, great, here's my agent. Can you please let her know?
Right.
Or we're going to follow up.
Which goes back to that sign-in sheet that if you had signed in properly, there might be somebody that said, hey, listen, I was down in the basement and I noticed this one damp area.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what that's about? What's going on? And maybe the agent isn't aware at that moment. And, might be something new, and let me call and find out and I'll get right back to you. So, I think it's also important. I mean, an open house can be busy, can have a lot of activity, other families there at the same time. It might be buyers there with their agents, look and listen, because and I'm not suggesting that you're eavesdropping on their conversations, but sometimes it could be a simple thing where somebody says, oh, did you notice that custom cabinet that was in the dining room? I think that dates back to such and such, built in, not furniture.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I should have looked at that. Now if they're over there saying I'm going to offer a $50,000 over the asking price, well, those things slip out from time to time too.
But I mean, think about some things. Like some people notice electrical. There could be a buyer that's an electrician say, oh no, that was really great that they did this or this. Yeah. I mean, you're going to pick up some things that you probably didn't even know that was a good or a bad. Yeah. So it'll help you make a decision.
Right.
I even walk through with people and I'm listening. I'm like, oh, what are they looking at over there? And I go and look and I'm like, oh, I never even noticed this. So take the time, look around, get comfy, go back through, don't feel rushed, ask questions, look around the outside, come back inside. You're going to see new people and different things. I like that.
It's fun because I do these open houses every weekend for the new construction. And then obviously I'm doing it for other listings as well. But when somebody comes in, especially on the new construction, because I could be in a model home and I want to be able to talk not just about the house that they were in, but other properties. So I love the interaction. I loved the opportunity to have conversations with people. I do feel that sometimes some folks are very open to it.
Yep.
And, that's when I'm almost disappointed when somebody else walks in because I'm having a great talk and I really want to take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times where I get that other person that comes in the door who looks like they're trying to avoid eye contact with me. They're ducking into the next room. I'm chasing them around. You got to sign in, Sign in. Right here. But
I can't read it.
Yeah, what's your name again? But there's obviously, it's okay to say, and I've done it too.
Yeah.
I've gone into a house and said, listen, I'm not a real buyer. I am a nosy person who's here just checking out this floor plan or this inspiration or something. It's okay because I don't want to chase you around either. But if I see you go in the attic or the bathroom, we're going to have words. Etiquette. Yes.
No, but I do. Yeah, I see that. And another thing that I always think about is disclosures, right? Mm-hmm. So when I'm doing an open house, I like to display everything that I put on an attachment to the listing. Mm-hmm. So, you don't think about, your agent doesn't know that sometimes you're going to these open houses and stuff. So I like to put down everything, like if it's there's an assessor's map, there's a seller's disclosure or anything like that. Yeah. It's there for everyone.
Right.
I do put a listing sheet so you can grab one. But I think it's important because everybody has a phone. So take a picture of it.
Yeah.
Or just, I can let them know, yep, that's attached to the MLS. But talk about it. The interaction is the best because I think we have time now, right?
Yes.
Where before, in, out, don't touch anything.
Don't breathe. Don't talk to me. Yeah.
But, if you're new, I like talking to people that are not even from the area. So I can say, well, what brings you to this area? Mm-hmm. Why are you looking exclusively around this area? Do you know what's here? Do you know how close it is to get the highway or the train station?
Right.
Or recreation?
Yeah.
This is an opportunity for them to get a better feel. And I think sellers, my clients, I want them to understand that that's what I'm doing there. I'm trying to not just sell the house, but talk about the area so they can feel the comfort. This will be a great fit.
Right. And it's interesting as well because sometimes sellers want to know about the buyers and I'm not necessarily digging to get information about them. I mean, maybe their interest because I'm trying to connect them to see if they're a match to the house.
Yes.
But whether or not they grew up in the area and, they went to the same high school as your kids or blah, 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 that's irrelevant.
Right.
I want to make sure that this is a match.
Right.
We're matchmakers.
Yeah.
We definitely are. Mm-hmm. On to a different topic because I'm sorry, I'm going to jump over to offer deadline just for a second.
No, I love
it. So you mentioned it earlier. So I find that depends on the property. It really does. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, you're setting an offer deadline right when you take the listing and you think, oh gosh, am I being too optimistic about this? Because what if you set an offer deadline and you don't get offers? So sometimes I thought, well, I think I'm going to just do this open house and we'll see what the activity looks like. And if I'm there at an open house at noon and there's already 20 cars outside, I know I need that offer deadline. But, that's something too, that it puts a lot of pressure on buyers to view the house quickly. So they come to an open house. There's 20 cars outside. They're coming through and everybody's whispering in the corner with their agents or with their spouse or whatever. And you've got all this high energy. So this is great for a seller.
Right.
But I also find that sometimes buyers are waiting for the open house. And that's sort of creating that frenzy. If showings are allowed before an open house, especially if there's an offer deadline, you might want to schedule that private showing ahead of time.
Right.
So you're not with the mass crowd going through.
Right.
And you're getting a chance to really dissect things. Because, that first time, maybe you go for a private showing. Then you come back at the open house and you're seeing it for the second time. And you have an offer deadline that's due 2 days later. I don't like to squeeze them in that tight, but sometimes they do. And it could be for a number of reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's being unfair. It could be the seller's timeline as well.
Right. Because it doesn't always necessarily mean that we have multiple offers.
Right.
It could be because the seller doesn't have a lot of the time to have it shown or available. So I think that's really what it comes down to. But you brought up a point about that deadline thing. When we put the listings on, I think it's important to offer the private showings plus the open house because, like you said, it's a second viewing of it.
Right.
And it also gives comfort, I think, to my seller clients that, they came back for a second showing. So it gives a little bit more comfort. They're vested to move forward if they put an offer.
Right. Yes. And that's a good point because they might say, they only saw it during the open house. What if I accept this offer and they come back, later and say, I have a little bit of remorse because I didn't, I got caught up into the moment.
Right.
But I find, and you might see this too, sometimes buyers are contacting me directly that are not mine, that are actually under contract with a buyer's agent. But they're contacting me to see if I am going to be offering an open house because they don't want to bother their agent. And, I wish people would stop looking at it as if they're troubling someone because that's what we're here for.
Right.
We're supposed to help you. And if you want to wait for an open house, this is the time and day. But then there are other people. Now I'm going to switch this around a little bit. A seller who says, I don't want any showings before the open house because I've got 3 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, and it's just too much for me to get everything ready. Yep. I'd rather just, have everybody out of the house for the open house.
Yep.
And maybe you're doing it for a couple of hours, and maybe that can be it because it's not going to look like this after I get home.
Right. Right. It's hard for sellers. We don't know. A lot of times buyers don't understand what the predicament is. But my feeling is I try to utilize an open house to try to get the maximum amount of people in for the seller so that it's exposed, right? And I want the buyer to feel the comfort going there is so they can ask questions. There can be follow-up and they can find out as much about the property. It's not to be like, this is it. This is the only time you can see it. It's more about I want you in there and asking questions. Right. So utilize it as a private showing with so much more opportunity to find more information about the house. Right.
Now, sometimes private showings are accompanied by the listing agent, and sometimes they aren't.
Right.
And when they are being accompanied by the listing agent, that's where you're trying to coordinate schedules. So that might take a little bit more effort. Whereas a private showing where the listing agent isn't present, does give you that chance to just go and comfortably talk with your buyer's agent and go through the property. The advantage, of course, of an open house with the listing agent being present is being able to ask questions, directly. Open houses are, I think, very beneficial to both sellers and to buyers, and to the agents, involved as well. But they're not the only way you can view a home, hopefully.
No. But I hope this information was helpful. You can reach Sherri or myself at Coldwell Banker in Leominster. We really hope that you will subscribe and take a look at our other podcasts we have, and we have some coming on more and more.
Yeah.
And if you have a specific topic you want us to talk about, or you think about a guest that we should have, we are open for your suggestions.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.